Hello, friends. My name is John Dorhauer, and I serve as General Minister and President of the United Church of Christ. While I was on vacation 2 weeks ago, I drove with my wife into the small town where my ministry began. And there it was, on the hill overlooking the farms that surrounded it, Zion Evangelical. Now, after a few minutes of quiet reminiscing, my wife and I, we drove out of town on the dirt roads to the cemetery nearby. And we found the gravestone of two women, sisters, buried side by side, Alma Tauscher and Elsie Youngerman. They were confirmed in that church together in 1916, the last two from that church to be so in the German tongue. Alma would go on to serve as 40 years as a missionary to India, and Elsie would become one of the last two surviving deaconess sisters. While pastor at Zion, I came to know the true spirit of that evangelical and reformed piety that manifested itself both in the Irenic faith and the missionary zeal that Alma and Elsie embodied. Children of German immigrant families, our E and R ancestors found worship to be a time of quiet and dignified praise of the one who helped them endure hardship, the God who saw them through the challenges of life with blessings abundant and whose grace alone was sufficient. They knew that the piety that they embraced also required of them an outpouring of love, offered in gratitude that would enable them to feed the hungry, heal the sick, care for the widow and the orphan, and shelter the homeless. Alma and Elsie embodied that Irenic pietism, and they did so by offering their lives in service to the world. And through the years, that quiet pietism and that Irenic evangelical and reformed spirit would remain evident in the denomination that it birthed, the United Church of Christ. In the spirit of a Lancaster seminary or an Elmhurst University, we find the ever-present curiosity of an early and abiding E&R faith. In the over 400 mission agencies associated with the Council for Human Health and Service Ministries, CHISM, we find that passion for mission. In the rich liturgical traditions that are instantiated in our hymnal, our book of worship, and in movements like Mercersburg, we see the quiet passion for dignified worship. In camp settings all over the country, and ongoing curricula written for our confirmands and ongoing Sunday school classrooms, we see the commitment to raise up disciples from among the children and the youth. But perhaps most significantly, we are the United Church of Christ because of the early impulses that the German Reform movement evidenced towards ecumenism and unity. In November of 1917, or excuse me, in November of 2017, I had the honor of speaking at a worship service in the Berliner Dome in Berlin for the 200th anniversary of the Prussian Union that birthed the Evangelical Kirche in the motherland of Germany. The desire to unite was something that the German immigrants of the mid-19th century brought with them and shared with the earlier migrant families from the Reformed tradition. And naturally, they then became the E&R Church. And as naturally, then the United Church of Christ. That they may all be one was their default mode. And we are today because they were thus yesterday. And so I join you in celebrating not just the rich heritage of our E&R ancestors, still evident in our life today, but the way that that heritage continues to define and shape the present and future of a denomination and a mission now entrusted to us. May our own Irenicism, our own piety, our own curiosity, our own desire to be one be as strong and as evident as theirs was. That, in partnership with the abiding Holy Spirit of the living God and the risen Christ, that will be sufficient to move this denomination forward into the new and next generations. Thank you.